Welcome back to the Book of Boba Fett after show. This is Sean.
And this is Chris.
And tonight we're going to be talking about Chapter 3 of the Book of Boba Fett, entitled The Streets of Mos Espa. And if you're unfamiliar with what we do, we are Dad in Iraq. We do after shows and trailer reactions, and we've covered a lot of stuff on Disney Plus so far, including Mandalorian Season 2 and a lot of the Marvel stuff. Be sure to check us out. Check out dadiniraq.com. Be sure to find us on YouTube. All you have to do is just search for Dad in Iraq, spelled right up there. Here in the screen, you can search for it, and you'll see all the stuff that we do. It's pretty varied. You should enjoy it.
Yeah. Like, subscribe, that little bell. And speaking of the little bell, let's move on here. Yeah, I'm not sure where I was going with that, but why not?
Well, we're live and interactive too. So if you're watching us right now, be sure to leave a comment. We're going to see you whatever platform you're happy to join us on, whether it's YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, or Facebook. We'll be able to see it, and we will comment on your comment. So be sure to interact with us here in the next hour or so.
Well, what do you say we go to Kamino?
Let's do some flashbacks.
Once again, we see Kamino. It's the same clip. We see young Boba Fett, getting up and watching Jango fly off in Slave One, and it's over and over and over. Like we said before, I don't think any of this is accidentally done. But what can this be leading to? They're not giving any hints to what this can actually mean.
No, there are a couple of things here, a couple of mysteries as we are in the third episode now. It's like, two times you see something, it's a coincidence, but a third time you see something, it starts to be a pattern. It's kind of one of those things where they wouldn't be showing this to us without some sort of a reason.
Some purpose, yeah.
The same reason why, like, we keep seeing him get dumped into the bacta tank. Like, why does he keep going in there? There's got to be some reason.
There's got to be some purpose to it, yeah.
Going in the bacta tank. But yeah, so whole scene in Kamino, I think, we're meant to think of him just kind of looking back on his childhood, but this very specific scene of him watching Jango Fett leave out the window, maybe there's something to it. Maybe we'll actually have a more in-depth flashback scene with him as a youth. I don't know. That might be kind of hard because they're specifically showing Daniel Logan's face, the actor that portrayed Boba Fett, in the prequel trilogy. And of course, they're not going to be able to get him back.
Yeah.
And
he's a little older now.
Yeah, he's a little older, and it would be weird for them to show his face and then recast him, as some more in-depth scene. So this might be all that we get, but I'm just questioning as to why we're seeing it so often.
But I think there was some episode at some point. Oh, not episode. I'm sorry. Some part of the trailer, we actually see Slave One flying over.
Yeah.
So we got to get, because as far as we know right now, he doesn't have it.
True.
When does he get possession of that ship?
Yeah. Because, if you're thinking, he still had possession of the ship when he was hanging down on Tatooine on Jabba's barge. And
yeah, so it's got to be on Tatooine. Someone or someone took off with it.
Right. And he does have it for the Mandalorian Season 2. He was flying around in Slave One. So yeah, that's I hadn't even thought of that. These 3 weeks, we're 3 episodes in. I haven't even thought about Slave One.
Yeah. Well, he's just walking around like some commoner, with his studs.
Yeah, in his robes, in his nice, comfy Tusken robes.
So there's that. But dude, let's get to the Tuskens. These poor Tuskens. These are supposed to be some massive, like, awesome warriors.
Yeah.
And all we see ever in Star Wars is Tuskens slaughtered.
Well, they're typically outmatched. The first time we saw them, Luke didn't have a lightsaber yet or anything. He had binoculars, and he got punked out by a gaffy stick. And any other time, lightsaber or blaster versus sand people, it doesn't go over too well.
Well, we see the Tuskens with blasters in
with the rifle 1 stuff.
Yeah, when they're actually, the speeders, or not speeders, but the pod racers fly by them.
Mm-hmm.
So we see them then. So I was like, why is it? Because we do learn, though, that there are multiples. They're not like one tribe.
Yeah,
so some tribes may have, other weapons that some don't.
Some of them may be just more violent than other tribes too. Yeah.
That's very possible. So that's the only thing I can think of. But I'm just thinking, man, these poor, Tuskens, what's going on?
I should have known, dude. I had a thought as we were getting to know these Tusken Raiders, this specific tribe, the longer that we spent time with them, I'm like, well, he's not with them now. So something may have happened between these flashbacks and the current timeline. Yeah. I should have known that he was gonna walk up to this scene of just smoke and ashes. And somebody really took it to these guys. I mean, that looked like a pretty violent scene.
Well, as far as we know, he left to go ahead and talk to the Pikes to go
Yeah.
ahead and get their, their payment for for safe passage.
Yeah, like a toll. Yeah.
Yeah, and he shows up, and come to find out, it's that other gang that I guess he beat the crap out of at that one cantina. What did you say it was Tashi
Tashi
Station?
Station.
Tashi
Yeah.
Station. And then he also, he took their speeders.
Yeah.
He took their speeders, beat the crap out of them.
Right.
But they were also the same ones that, robbed that one moisture farm.
Yeah.
So when he seen the sign, he knew who it was. But I think he's done. I mean, he goes ahead and he's doing, paying all his respects to, to the Tuscans that took him in, who basically he owes his life to, essentially.
Right. Right. I think he's got a pretty clear idea of what happened. Well, yeah, he's coming back from this failed mission where he went to go see the Pike leader. Pike leader's like, "Hey, I'm not going to pay double because there's already this gang that we gave money to. So you figure it out. You go figure it out. Come back to me, and if you're the victor, then I'll give you money, whatever."
Yeah, he was like, "I'm going to take care of it."
Yeah, and he does, and he leaves, but he comes back to the tribe, and I mean, this is what he finds. It's awful.
And well, I wouldn't have got off my bantha. That was still quite a walk. I mean, you know what you're walking into. But
he was upset,
Yeah,
maybe, he didn't
there's
know
that, and I understand like the drama and the shot that we're going for. Him running up with the bantha behind him.
Yeah,
but man, I was bummed because I really was starting to think that they were going to be his muscle.
right.
They were going to be the ones that he would lean on when it comes to everything else, and it's not going to go down that way. And he was almost. When it happened, I think he's done. I don't think he's going to have anything to do with the Pikes. Well, I mean, obviously, if you're watching the show, he's going to have something to do with the Pikes
a little bit later.
But he's not going to have anything to do with this gang. He's just going to kind of move on. I think he's kind of, I don't want to say defeated, but like he's like, okay, this portion's over. I have to move on.
Yeah, you can kind of see the sorrow in his face as he's kind of putting these Tusken Raiders, this family that he was a part of, temporarily to rest. Let's check out the scene here. So a couple questions I had during that whole scene. There were three main Tusken Raiders that we got to know out of this tribe. There was the warrior, there was the leader, and then there's a little kid.
The child, yeah.
The leader, I think we actually see. He's on the ground. And I think that's one of the gaffy sticks that Boba Fett tosses into the fire. And I don't think we see the warrior. And also,
I think we saw the warrior. I think she was like the queen. She was actually sitting leaning against the pole earlier when he first walked.
Okay, yeah, I couldn't tell if that was just a generic Tusken Raider or if that was okay. And I think we're meant to interpret that the child ended up dying too because of that small gaffy stick that he tosses into the fire. So are we just meant to think that this entire tribe is wiped out now?
I mean, with the tent being burnt, the whole deal. I think the intention is that everyone that was a part of that tribe is no longer with us.
Yeah. So that's sad. I mean, it's, because you and I were hoping for some better things from the Tusken Raiders as far as being an ally to him as he's moving forward as a crime boss. So that kind of takes that out of the equation.
Yeah, completely out of the. It's like, okay, I've got I got my robes because it was basically right after. Now we don't know the timeline. We don't know how long he actually spent with them because they're giving us little glimpses of it. So it could have been a long period of time he was actually with them.
Right.
And he got it last time we seen. He got his his robes. He got his gaffy stick, and he's ready to go. And he was acting as like number two when it comes to leadership on the actual like tribe. He was the one that was dealing with what they would consider aliens, people from the other parts coming to their planet.
Right.
And now that happening, it's discouraging, really. It really is.
We'll definitely see more flashbacks, right? I mean, it's 3 episodes in. And
I think we're done with the flashbacks
I
when it
just
comes to the
don't think
Tuskens.
I just don't think you have 3 episodes with flashbacks and then you don't have any more flashbacks. So
I
we're gonna
think
have flashbacks going
I think
forward.
there's gonna be flashbacks, but I think the flashbacks are gonna be different than what we have seen to this point.
Yeah, you're probably true. I mean, there's no more Tusken, so I think it's gonna go forward in time. Maybe we'll see him track down Slave One or something. I don't know, but yeah, we're definitely moving on from the Tusken part of the story for sure.
Yeah, and like I said, that's discouraging, but
Yeah.
I mean, I would have loved to have seen them be a bigger part because they've always kind of been, an afterthought within the Star Wars universe.
Mhm.
And the fact that they got so much screen time in this show alone, uh, was actually giving them a little more credence.
Yeah, that was cool. That was some of the best stuff that we've ever seen from him. Was last episode with the taking down the train and everything. That was neat.
Well, let's
Um,
then
but
I guess let's go current day then, all right?
yeah, we got to move on. We got to move on to the current timeline, right? So, we open up the episode actually to see Boba Fett sitting on the throne.
Oh no,
you
oh
know,
no, I don't want to see Boba Fett on the throne.
wrong throne, different throne, the one with the Rancor armrests.
Oh, that's a
Maybe the
fancy
toilets have
throne.
Rancor armrests. Who
I was
knows? We
gonna
haven't
say
seen
you
them.
went there.
God, I can imagine Jabba the Hutt using a toilet. Anyway,
Oh
whatever.
wow,
Let's move away from that. Um, but yeah, so like basically he's getting a little lesson as far as what the current layout is of the ownership there. And we actually get an explanation from the torture droid that's been acting as kind of a semi protocol droid for them the last couple episodes, where he's telling them essentially like, when Bib Fortuna took over, he just wasn't as powerful as Jabba the Hutt. And you and I had talked about this. I'm
yeah,
like, how the heck does Bib Fortuna hold all that together? And he really didn't. He ended up
no, he
having to
relied on
like,
the families. Yeah,
yeah, he pretty much almost had to sell off power to these, 5 families or these 5 divisions across all of Mos Espa, where they took different parts of town. And that's what's being explained here to Boba Fett in a big kind of map of the city. And yeah, so he said the Trandoshans have the city center, the Aqualish worker district, Klatooinians of the Upper Sprawl. So they're kind of all, and this is a scene that we haven't seen yet here in the show, because there was a couple of trailers where we saw there was a big meeting at a big table
yeah.
with all of them talking.
That's still coming. And just the fact they could have done it this episode.
Yeah,
Frankly, they didn't need to have a 30-minute episode. They could have given us another 50-minute episode like it's like episode 2. And
right.
they could have put that within this episode with him meeting with them, and then how this episode ends could have all kind of been put together as one.
Yeah. Yeah, and kind of right after this, we get a visitor. There's a character by the name of Loretta Peel, it looks like, and this character is portrayed by like a pretty big time actor by the name of Stephen Root. He's a character actor that's been in, oh God, I mean, a number of things, a crazy amount of things. He was in Office Space, most famously as the guy whose stapler got stolen. But he's done a ton of voiceover work. Like he's Bill on King of the Hill, I know for sure. And I don't know, he's just done a ton of stuff. He's on that Bill Hader show where Bill Hader's an assassin, and he's trying to be an actor. I think it's on Showtime. But anyway, for him to come in, it was just weird. It kind of took me out a little bit. I'm like, I know that guy's face really
I
well.
know him from something.
Yeah. But he came in and he was like, he kept repeating to Boba Fett, "I'm offended on your behalf." He was telling him basically how these punk kids.
He was like, "Well, no one respects you."
Yeah, no one respects you.
Now I'm
What an
offended.
opening. Yeah. No one respects you out there, and I'm offended on your behalf because they're not paying their proper dues as far as the water tax.
Yeah.
And Boba Fett's kind of dubious at first. He's not really willing to, just believe all this
Well,
guy's
Fennec
lying
was like,
BS.
"Go away, you. Thank you. Bye."
Yeah. Yeah, especially when he's describing this teenage gang or whatever, and they're all like they have cybernetics, and he's all grossed out by it. But if we remember, Fennec herself, she's got her whole stomach is all pistons and wires. The last time she opened, I think it was during the Mandalorian, is from when she got
Oh, she
shot.
had to get put back together. Yeah.
Yeah. Can you imagine though, like how just badass Fennec is, and that wimp of a guy from that one episode of The Mandalorian ended up taking her out almost. But that's a whole nother show, whole nother episode.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so Boba Fett, they kind of take that news on and they decide to go walking. Let's go walk the streets of Mos Espa and take a look.
I still find that funny. He
Yeah.
just walks through the streets and like people don't mess. They don't even know what to think of it. It's like, why? Well, oh, he's who? What?
Yeah, it's him, Fennec, and the two Gamorrean guards. It seems to be the only inhabitants of this big palace, and all four of them, they just go and take a little stroll through Mos Espa. It is kind of weird when you see it.
Yeah, it just seems like it's a little underwhelming. But he
Yeah,
walks up on these this group, this gang, and my first impression was, what are they on? Why are they so
right.
shiny? Then they're like, well, one of them was like, well, he charges, a whole month's,
Wages for
wages
like,
for 1 week's water.
yeah,
And then one of them was like, well, we don't work. I'm like, okay, you don't work. You got some shiny, nice bikes there.
right. You're getting some money from somewhere. Yeah.
Something is off. Something doesn't smell right.
The whole aesthetic of this crew is kind of really strange. Like I've never seen anything so shiny on Tatooine. Like these bikes that they were riding in, the clean clothes they were wearing, it didn't seem like there was an ounce of dust or dirt or
Yeah.
sand on them at all. And just to see these guys on Tatooine, it just was like really jarring. It was kind of strange because Tatooine has famously been a hive of scum and villainy. Like it's been a dirty, dank, hot, sweaty place that you don't want to go to. It's the backwater end of the galaxy.
Yeah.
And these guys, like, it looked like they came straight out of Coruscant or something. It's really kind
Yeah.
of weird.
Yeah, from the top layers too, not even like the
Yeah.
bottom layers of Coruscant, or
Yeah.
even like Naboo or somewhere. Somewhere
Right.
that's somewhere's nice.
Somewhere pristine. So it was kind of strange. Even just like the design of these characters was kind of strange. And I was getting like total like CW vibes
Dude,
off
I
this
was pulled
crew
out of
here.
it, the whole
Yeah.
thing. But hey, guys, before we go much further, if you're still with us here and you're enjoying what you're liking, you're listening to and watching here, make sure to go hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, that little bell. We do this every Friday night at the same time here, 10 o'clock. The Boba Fett show, and like Sean was saying earlier, if you joined us in, we have a ton of other things that are on the the YouTube channel, so check those out as well. But yeah, that's man, and I didn't catch it. I was like, some people were saying the Vespas, and I was like, Vespas. I mean, and I looked up and I was like, oh my god, they do look like little Vespas, and they're moving and they were moving as slow as like mopeds. I mean, there
Right.
was no speed feeling at all to this chase.
Yeah, we'll get to that chase, but it was not great. It was not great. But yeah, they tell Boba Fett how they're paying too much money for this water, whatever. He decides to do something, a little bit different. He needs He needs people. He
Yeah,
needs power. Like he needs an entourage. He needs people to actually,
he needs
be inside
eyes
of
in
that
places
palace.
he can't be.
Exactly. Yeah. So Boba Fett thinks it's a good idea to actually hire these kids. They say they're not working right now, so come work for me. Which I guess that's okay if these characters came off as more of a threat and kind of cooler and not so CW, maybe it
Yeah.
would have been cooler. But anyway, he hires them, and immediately Stephen Root's character came out because he was hiding in the shadows, and he
No,
was
no, no,
like,
no, no. Yeah.
"Yeah, how dare you? You're not supposed to hire them. You're supposed to give me my money." And
I
he does.
love how he was like, yeah, here's well, how much is he? Oh, you have 1,300. Here's
Yeah,
500.
here's 500 and take it and like it. And, the Stephen Root's character can't really do anything besides accept.
Yeah, I like how he said, if you don't like it, go to Mos Eisley.
Yeah, that
He
was
doesn't
funny.
leave.
In the dank, sand hole that is Tatooine, Mos Eisley is the worst place of it all. So, anytime you get a reference like that, it's kind of funny.
Yeah, I got a kick out of that. Well, yeah, then he takes him back and they're just kind of hanging out. And this is when we see when we talked about the flashback already that were taking place. He was back in that back to tank.
Yeah.
They keep on showing that back to tank. He keeps on doing, and it's the same shot. They zoom in. Also, you see him with the respirator on, and then
Right.
they go into a flashback.
Yeah.
And like I said, there's something with that back to tank, and I really, really don't think he's going to make it out. I think he's sick beyond what Bacta can fix.
Yeah.
But
And the fact is just like prolonging something.
yeah, and no one knows. No one knows what's going on. I think the only one that really understands what's happening is him. Finnick may know. He may
Maybe
have
Fennec,
told,
because she's been so close to him. Yeah.
but I mean, they're the only two that may actually know what's going on.
If I
But
were
dude,
if I were there and an employee of his, I'd be like, "You doing
yeah,
all
bud,
right?
yeah.
What's
Hey,
with all
hey,
the
boss.
back to dips?" Yeah, that's kind of strange. But there was, for this episode that was kind of here or there with the different moments. The one coming up here I thought was really effective, where he wakes up out of his slumber of being in the Bacta tank, and immediately all you see is Black Chrysanthemum roaring in his face and picking him up out of there. Can you imagine waking up to that?
And then like throwing him
Yeah,
across the room. This
that
is
was
this one.
scary.
Yeah, this one we see Black Chrysanthemum in his full glory
Right.
because he is out there and he is whooping some butt.
Yeah.
Full out, there's let the Wookiee win type situation.
I
I mean,
mean, to be fair, he's whooping Boba Fett's bare butt. But Boba Fett is just wrapped in like a towel.
well, he was told to sleep lightly, and
He was.
I don't think Boba Fett would even if he was completely in his armor, I don't think he would stand a chance against Chrysanthemum. I really don't, unless he just basically hit a jackpot in a jetpack and took off and was like, peace out. I'm not going to deal with this.
All right, so let's not get into the details of this fight. This fight was almost like the chase, I think, where it's kind of like here or there. Let me ask you, since you know this character fairly well, the speeder gang, Fennec, naked Boba Fett, they end up getting the better of Black Chrysanthemum in this fight. Do you think that's even possible? Like, we saw it happen in front of us, but how believable was it?
He was winning the fight. Yeah. I mean, for the most part, he was beating them all. I mean, there wasn't really one that really gave him any problem. I mean, they were even trying to throw some like electrical whip around him, and he was just throwing the kid like swatting a fly.
Right.
I mean, he was even hit twice with the gaffy stick, and it didn't affect him. I mean, he kind of did a little bit of a roar, but it's like it didn't really hurt him at all. Then he dove at the Gormorians, which was funny.
Yeah,
because it was all of a sudden it was like 6 against 1. He's like, okay, right. I gotta better the odds here. And then he just kind of backed up, and he was just outsmarted. I don't know how smart he is. Like, he's definitely like mean and don't cross some type of character.
Right.
But I don't know how familiar he was with Jabba's palace. Like, I know he worked with Jabba.
Yeah.
But I don't know like how long it's been, because he just got backed up, and then all of a sudden Fennec hit the button.
Anytime that anybody goes through that trap door anymore, I'm just like, this word has had to get around that there's a trap door in front of Jabba's throne that goes to a Rancor pit. Maybe not, you and I know of it because we saw Return of the Jedi, maybe you and I are so familiar with it. Maybe it's not a exposed
Or maybe
secret.
they're just forced to stand there. Maybe it's like you have to stand right there. I don't care if you know what's there or not.
Yeah.
That is where you're going to stand when you address me.
But either way, that's where Black Chrysanthemum ends up. They kind of push the fight to that spot, and Fennec is able to push the button. He goes down. He almost doesn't go down. He catches himself, and Fennec whips the blade out of her gun and throws it to his paw, and then he has to let go and down to the Rancor pit there. And he's lucky that they didn't have the Rancor delivered just yet. Yeah. He was only days away of Rancor actually being down there.
Yeah, right. No, I mean, I thought it was good. I mean, I thought they portrayed him in the proper fashion. Okay. I mean, he was whooping up on people.
Yeah.
It didn't really matter. And he was like, okay, now I need to, he was circled and he was still beating him off. But he's like, how much more can I do before, the numbers are just not in my favor?
Yeah.
So the fact that he kind of fled, tackled the Gormorians, they rolled down the stairs and they were in the other room.
Yeah.
I was good with it.
We go from that with kind of a jump cut from that fight scene right to Fennec and Boba Fett sitting in a feast by themselves, a huge spread. And Fennec's all about it. She's just like, we might as well just enjoy the spoils here while we can.
Yeah.
If we're going to be a crime boss, let's get well fed. Boba Fett's not so sure. He's really kind of thinking as far as like, what's going on here? This was, I need to respond to this. How do I respond? And as he's thinking how he responds to the Hutts show up at his door.
And apologize.
Yeah.
Hutt apologizes.
Yeah, that's why this whole thing felt strange and false.
Well, knowing what we know about the Pikes and, what happened in the flashback, and knowing that the Pikes are on the planet we learned from the train and the actual the spice.
Mm-hmm.
I am knowing the Pikes, the Hutts want nothing to do with them.
Yeah.
The Pikes are actually there's like a hierarchy of like crime syndicates.
Right.
The Pikes are at the top.
Mm.
And even the Hutts want nothing to do with these guys. So like, you know what? There's nothing on this rock. I'm out. You know, and
Wow.
even Jabba really didn't do a whole lot on there besides he made, his money. He did his thing.
He had his little corner of the galaxy where he
Yeah.
was, big wig, but
But
that's all that seems to be gone now.
yeah, soon as the Pikes lay claim to that planet, no one wants to mess with them. No
Yeah,
one
they're like, "No,
crosses the
thanks."
Pikes.
So you don't think they actually have some ultimatum here? You think it's like legit and genuine? Like, hey, sorry about the kerfuffle. Here's a Rancor as a gift. We're actually leaving, and good luck to you.
The sorry for all that. No, I don't buy any of that. I'm with him.
Yeah,
I don't believe the sorry. I believe they may have a cross up or a run together, at another time.
right.
But we were both lied to by the mayor, and this land's been promised to the Pikes, and we
Yeah,
want out because we want nothing to do with these guys. War is
yeah.
bad for business. Yeah, I buy that wholeheartedly.
So they fear the Pikes more than they want to get into a tussle with Boba Fett.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
I definitely buy the fact that they went out of there because the Pikes are showing up in numbers.
I gotcha. Okay. But yeah, I mean, during that whole thing, that's basically what they tell Boba Fett, and then they leave. They get carried out of there by by those poor guys that have to carry the weight of that big platform. But they bring a Rancor.
Dude, the Rancor was awesome. He was
Yeah,
coming to be funny. He's a baby too. He's being bred for fighting. But who's his trainer? The trainer.
Danny Trejo, man.
Dude, I seen that nigga. That's awesome.
How great is that? As soon as I saw him, I was like, of course, Danny Trejo would be a terrific Rancor trainer.
Yeah, dude, and the whole scene when they bring him in, and I thought Finnick was awesome. It's like that's an amazing gift.
It is a good gift. I mean, he's already got a spot for him down there in the basement.
Yeah,
But we learned a lot here. Just like the show, people are kind of been hot and cold on this series so far. But honestly, as far as Star Wars lore, it's given us a ton to work with, even
yeah.
more than The Mandalorian, I think.
But here's a question for you though:
Yeah.
is this show acting more as a launching point for other shows, or do you think it
Mm.
is being successful for it as a show on its own?
I don't know. It's hard to say. I think if it was going to be a launching point for a ton of other stuff, then we would have seen some better characters introduced. I do not want a series with this street gang, if that's
Yeah,
what they're
no.
trying to force on us.
But like, say for instance, with Ahsoka, that was within Mandalorian.
Yeah.
I think they brought in Black Chrysanthemum in this show to introduce him, and
Right.
we're gonna see him in Obi-Wan.
Oh, well, that'd be
Or
cool. Yeah, if they do that, that's fine by me.
like the Pikes, for instance. I think we can see the
Right.
Pikes in later shows that they're gonna do. What's what's the name of that? Aaron
Andor?
Aron? Was that? And
Andor, like Cassian Andor?
yeah, yes, thank you. I think
Mhm.
we can see him in that. So I
Right.
mean, I think they're introducing characters that are going to play a bigger role in other live action shows.
Yeah. Yeah, that could be. I guess we'll talk a little bit about the show thus far, maybe towards the end here. But yeah, some folks it's kind of hot and cold. Some people are all about it. Some people they're 3 episodes in and they're just like, this is not as good as
This is what we
Mandalorian.
were hoping for.
Yeah. But honestly, this episode, the stuff with the Rancor, I loved. When
Yes.
Boba Fett was down there scratching the Rancor behind the ears, like you get the feeling that like the Rancor are the pit bulls of the Star Wars galaxy, where it's like they're bred to fight, but it
Yeah.
turns out they only fight because they're incredibly loyal to their masters and they actually have a lot of depth and feelings and they're kind of abused when they're set to fight. And
Yeah, there's the whole back and forth with Danny Trejo and Boba
yeah.
Fett. I mean, that was great. And when Boba Fett walks up to it and it's like he's not intimidated by it in the least.
No, he's not. And this whole scene was great because Danny Trejo, he's down there, and you believe immediately that Danny Trejo is an expert at Rancors because he's got such a depth of knowledge. He
Yeah.
says basically, this one's depressed, they're very emotional beings, and the first human that they see or they lay eyes on, they
Like, it's
imprint on.
imprinted. Yeah.
And you get the feeling that he was going to open it up and so he could see Danny Trejo, since Danny Trejo is going to be the trainer. But I think he sees Boba Fett's affection towards this Rancor. And
Well, he
you even
also mentioned he wanted to ride it because there was a
Right.
line that he referred to the witches of Dathomir. Which
Yeah.
just hearing Dathomir and hearing the witch, that was all. That's another deep cut into Clone
Yeah.
Wars and into some of the books. So when they refer to the witches of Dathomir and they talk about how they used to ride the Rancors,
right?
I'm like, oh, that's awesome. And if we see Boba Fett ride this Rancor through the streets of Mos Espa, if
That's
people
better.
aren't scared,
Right.
they better be.
They will be. Yeah. Danny Trejo lets this Rancor imprint on Boba Fett. Essentially, he's like, stand here, and he takes off the blindfold of the Rancor, and immediately there's a connection there. And Boba Fett does more, scratching him behind the ears. Is that a good spot? It's so much to the fact that the connection's immediate. Danny Trejo was right. When Boba Fett has to leave suddenly,
he was saddened.
He was depressed, and Danny Trejo had to be like, "Don't worry, he'll be right back.
He'll be back."
So
yeah,
there's an immediate connection. Boba Fett's got a Rancor, which is totally cool.
Oh, dude, just seeing a Rancor again in Star Wars is fantastic.
Yeah,
it's like seeing a Bantha.
Right.
It's just cool seeing those characters. Yeah,
like a Bantha. Yeah,
but man, yeah, they're maybe not.
But yeah, so the reason that he had to leave was that he got called away, kind of, where they were gonna set a meeting with the mayor, and the mayor came back with like, well, he's gonna be busy for the next 20 days, and we won't be able to fit you in. So that immediately was enough for Boba Fett and Fennec to leave and be like, no, we're going right now.
No, we're not waiting on you. We're making our own timeline.
Yeah. They get there, and the same was it Domo Mojo Jojo
Mojo Domo
Major Domo, I don't know. But the same guy, this Twi'lek guy, says as much. Hey, he can't see you right now. They are very persuasive. I think Fennec, or no, it's Boba Fett. Shoots something. I don't know.
No. Fennec actually put back her like shirt and everything and showed her gun.
Yeah.
She was like, you better choose your next words wisely.
Right.
And then Boba Fett was like, and he was like, oh, I probably get you in here. And he starts going around. Boba Fett's like, was that a little heavy-handed? He's like, well, what do you want the meeting or not?
Well, then he locks the door behind him, and he's trying to make a run for it. And we get what you hope would be a cool chase through the streets of Mos Espa, but it was kind of slow, and the effects were kind of bad. And
well, you're being nice.
Yeah,
the effects, no, there's not kind of bad. The whole thing reeked terribly.
Yeah,
I mean, even putting this on CW would be degrading CW.
Ouch.
This was bad. I mean, there was nothing good about it. Even the second time I was watching, I was like, okay, maybe I'll enjoy the second watch of this scene.
Right.
And the spike coming out of the shoe and stomping on the engine, and the flamethrower or the torch coming out of the hand on the other one.
And then just like running into like people just walking down the streets of Mos Espa. And...
Did you get this though? I meant to get a still of it and I didn't. Before one of the speeders crashed, he crashed through a painting. And it was a painting,
a Ralph McQuarrie painting,
of Jabba's palace.
Yeah.
Boba Fett was standing to the right of Jabba.
He was, yeah. And they had to take out Luke Skywalker. Because he was part of that art too, Ralph McQuarrie painting, who was an artist that designed a ton of stuff for the original trilogy back in the day. So that was a nice homage there. I thought it was kind of cool.
Yeah, I kind of paused. I was looking. I was like, "Oh, that is awesome! I'm gonna get a still of that."
Yeah.
Well, whoops.
Didn't make it, and somebody crashed right through it, right?
Yeah, one of them went right through the actual painting. I'm like, well, that sucks.
It's like I don't care about these characters yet. We were just introduced to them 15 minutes ago, and all of a sudden we're like supposed to be invested in this chase with them, and I don't know any of their names. I barely know any of their faces.
We didn't learn any of their names.
No,
there was no names given for any of them, and really the only one that spoke up was that one girl.
Yeah,
I mean, she was the only one that really spoke up. So it's like,
and then right after this anticlimactic chase, it ends. This guy, he crashes into this fruit. What's it called? Malurin.
Yeah, I have a hard time even pronouncing it, but it's the same fruit that in Rebels they keep on going after.
Yeah, he crashes into a pile of it, kind of ends the chase. And so after this long drawn out, kind of crappy looking chase, Boba Fett just comes down in his jetpack. Apparently he does have his jetpack. He can use it, and he just drops down, and he's just like, "Hey, why were you running?"
Well, yeah, that too. I don't understand. You're chasing this dude,
right?
And you've already threatened his life to see the mayor.
Yeah,
and now he's ran, and all you do is say, Where's the mayor? Why'd you run? I mean, come on.
This guy does give up some information. Basically, he lets Boba Fett know that the Pikes have come. The Pikes are coming.
Yeah, and the
They're
mayor
here.
is basically working with the Pikes now.
Yeah, the mayor's working with the Pikes, and then one of these street gang actually, Boba goes back to the palace, back to headquarters, and the street gang, one of is acting like a spy, and he's, I guess, watching the spaceport there, and this huge transport ship comes in, and just like it looks like dozens of Pikes are just being
Yeah,
unloaded from
and
this thing.
yeah, they're coming in. This is the scene we're talking about here. Dude, the ominous music that's along with that. That
Yeah,
right there should tell people more, even if they don't know who they are, that it's not a group you want to mess with.
yeah. I have a theory
Go for it.
about the basically the theme of this entire season one or season of Boba Fett, the Book of Boba Fett. I think I think we're gonna find out that the Pikes actually had a hand in killing off the Sand People, the Tusken Raider tribe that he belonged to. He goes there and they say, "Oh, well, this other gang, we had to pay it to them." I think it's my theory that the Pikes actually paid this gang to take care of those Tusken Raiders, so they wouldn't have to pay any tolls going forward, and they were just given, giving old Boba Fett the old what for, because they were, they're the Pikes.
Yeah.
I'm sure they're a little bit more clever than this bounty hunter, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And I think Boba Fett's going to find that out, and this story is going to be him getting his revenge on these Pikes by the end of season one, for not only claiming turf of Mos Espa, but also for killing that basically that family that he became a part of, and getting some comeuppance there with the Pikes. What do you think?
Oh, I'll be hard pressed. I
Yeah,
mean, I don't think you're far off. I don't want to see the Pikes look like punks.
right.
And there's such just badasses in the Star Wars universe when it comes to crime syndicates.
Yeah,
I don't want them to be punked out.
right.
Uh, do I think that he could maybe rally the other, the Trandoshans, the Aquilish, and I'm not going to pronounce the last one right.
Some other race we don't know of.
Yeah, along with Black Chrysanthemum and his little
It's
Vespa posse.
Rancor.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and his Rancor, if they can just run them out of Mos Espa after
yeah,
having having a legitimate battle.
yeah.
Yeah, I can kind of see that, but having them just like completely beaten down, yeah, I would not completely rule out them getting a ship and start bombarding them from the city, from the sky, doing a
Right.
full, empire type move on them. So it depends on how bad the Pikes want to hold on to this city. What's really going on this planet? They really had nothing to do with it prior when Jabba was there, unless there was some spice being run on it and there was an agreement between them and Jabba.
Yeah.
But with Jabba gone, I don't know. I don't want to see them punked out. That's all I don't want to
I
see.
don't know, man. This is Star Wars, which famously, punks out a lot of its big bad characters. I'm thinking Darth Maul, he gets cut in half and
Oh
sends down a
yeah.
shaft. I'm thinking Boba Fett himself, he gets knocked into the Sarlacc by accident by Han. I'm thinking of a lot of these big. You think they're big bads, and then they end up just kind of being, like you said, punked out. But I don't know. It's just a theory of mine. We'll see how this whole thing unfolds. We're almost halfway through the season now, right? What's the
What?
total episode count?
7.
Okay, yeah.
So what if they actually hear me out? What if they got into the palace and sabotaged his back to tank?
Something's going on. We're gonna have to get some kind of plot point to go into why the heck he's in there, why he
Yeah.
needs the back to tank. We're gonna need to talk about the back to tank eventually.
Yeah, they can't just kind of sweep that under the rug
Right.
because since they've showed it to us so many times. And
Yeah.
yeah, we got to keep on going back to what's going on. What if this happened? Hear me out on this. What if Boba gets Slave One and bounces? What if he's like, I don't want to deal with the Pikes. I'm out. He just gets in Slave One and goes. Like this isn't what I signed up for.
I mean, I guess he could. That would be weird. I mean, that's weird. I guess in the grander theme of Star Wars, but like, then what the heck is the Book of Boba Fett about? Like, what a weird thing to be like, oh, this is so cool. At the end of the Mandalorian, he comes in and he takes over Jabba's whole thing, right?
Yeah.
And then this whole series is the story of him trying to start something, but ending up failing and just having to bounce. Like, I don't know.
But what
That's
if
kind
he
of weird.
what if his something about his health, and say for instance he leaves, say leaves Fennec in charge.
Yeah.
Say somehow like the Pikes are pushed off to another area, and they kind of held on to their little their little city,
Right.
and all these flashbacks are happening to Camino. He has to return to Camino, even though he has no idea what the situation is on Camino.
Yeah.
We know the city has been destroyed. So if he flies back to try to resolve what's going on with him, and there's nothing there, you know what I mean? I don't know. There's got to be, like I said, we were seeing these flashbacks to Camino for some reason.
Right.
Why? What are we doing with them? Are we going back
Honestly,
to Camino?
this show is kind of a mystery to me. Like, as far as theorizing things, it's kind of like, it's very strange because it's like I have no idea what's going to happen from one episode to the next. I mean, they introduced this huge character of the twin Hutts in Black Chrysanthemum last episode, and by this episode, they seem like they're not even really a story point anymore.
Yeah.
They're gone. They introduced this weird street gang here, and like it seems like each episode they're just bringing like brand new things, and you feel like it's leading up to something. But to what it's leading up to, what the end game is, so the last couple episodes of the season, what that's going to look like, I feel like maybe there's going to be some kind of a battle or something. But really, I just have no idea where their story's going or what the end game is here.
Here's a question for you, because I don't know the answer to this. I'm kind of looking up if I can while we're here. Is this show similar to The Mandalorian? Are we getting different directors per episode, or is there one steady director?
No, so far I think Jon Favreau directed the first episode, I think, and then since then it's been Robert Rodriguez, and that's why I like Danny Trejo is there, and he's got some actors that he prefers working with. I think maybe it might be Robert Rodriguez this whole thing. I'm not sure though because we're only 3 in, and that's all I've heard so far is Robert Rodriguez.
Okay, yeah, I was just kind of curious. I know they did a different director per episode of The Mandalorian. I think they're going to continue that because it's been working. It's been something. Yeah, Robert Rodriguez there. I'm just kind of.
Yeah, I'm not sure who's slated to direct the last 4 episodes. We got 4 episodes to go until the finale. But yeah, I'm hard pressed. Usually have a pretty good idea of where things are going, but it kind of seem to be so much all over the place. I'm not sure where.
There's Stephen Green for episode 2.
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna see what episode 3 is here since I'm looking at it.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Robert Rodriguez. Okay, so he's done the first one and the third one, and there was a different one, episode 2.
Okay.
So, I mean, it may be more of a steady.
Does that not speak well to Robert Rodriguez, who's a very famous, well-loved director that, like, so far in this show, episode 2 has been by far the best one?
Yeah.
And he wasn't the one to direct that?
Yeah, I know. I'm about to say that. I mean, the two weakest episodes were not done by him.
Right,
So
yeah.
that's, I guess that has to be a little disheartening for him, but, I mean, we'll see going forward.
How this whole thing shakes out. I mean, we got 4 episodes left. We're almost halfway through. This story could go in any number of directions now with the players. I think they've introduced the players there to be present. Hopefully they were not introduced. I know at least we're going to learn about more of the power division here, the power structure, the layout of the land of Mos Espa. Hopefully the next episode we're going to see that table scene.
But we really didn't address Black Chrysanthemum being released. Like he was going to be given back to the Hutts, and the Hutts went ahead and said sell him back to the gladiators.
Yeah.
And Boba just went ahead and released them, and Chrysanthemum looked at him like, yo, whoa, really? And Boba was basically like, no hard feelings,
Well, it's just business.
Business is business.
Yeah. He was hired for a job, and Boba Fett's had to do the same thing.
And he just let him go, and he looked at him, and the jog off, I kind of chuckled a little bit. I thought it was kind of funny how he just kind of jogged away. He's like,
just a Wookiee running off like Napoleon Dynamite.
Yeah, I'm out. but I really don't think it's the end of him. I think there's going to be a respect level. I think because he let him go, because he could have killed him. he could have sold him. There's a lot of things that he could have done with him. And the fact that he didn't, and Chrysanthemum is still on the planet. Now, granted, Chrysanthemum had to get there. So
Right.
I think he's got a ride somewhere waiting for him.
Yeah.
But I think he's going to stick around. He's going to play a big part in the rest of the show, fighting on Boba Fett's side, I think.
With him on Boba Fett's side and Boba Fett riding atop a Rancor, maybe they'll just them two and Fennec. Forget these kids, this Vespa gang.
Yeah. Well,
But I'm sure we'll see more of them too.
Yeah, Fennec parked up on a rooftop somewhere with her gun, being the sniper that
Yes.
we were told she was.
Right, exactly.
So if she's up there, perched up somewhere, and then you have the two Gamorreans and Black Chrysanthemum walking by Boba Fett on the Rancor. I mean,
Right.
that's intimidating.
That is intimidating. Yeah, these Gamorreans are so funny. They need a little bit more fur to cover up. They're just walking around totally shirtless with their big green pot bellies.
Well, one had to be tossed back in Boba's back then because he got bit by
yeah, he was like, put him in my back to tank.
Yeah. Oh, then clean it afterwards. Huh?
Yeah, I'd imagine so. But I think that's going to do it for chapter 3 here, The Streets of Mos Espa. Kind of a hot and cold episode for a majority of folks, I think, here. But there were some gems in here, especially with the Rancor. Very cool stuff. But we'll see what chapter 4 has to bring for us next week. Join us here every Friday night at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll be on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. If you haven't already, please go ahead and look for us on YouTube, like and subscribe to our YouTube page. We're really trying to grow the channel over there. And yeah, be sure to check out everything that we do.
Okay, guys, until we see you next week, go ahead and keep it cheesy.
See ya.